The Galactic Council convened an emergency session, their crystalline chamber humming with anxious energy. Ambassador Zixthar of the Concordance stood before the assembled representatives, his 4 eyes wide with what could only be described as terror. "They're back," he whispered, and the chamber fell silent. It had been 200 standard cycles since humanity had been banished to the dark sector, a region of space so hostile that even the warlike Krath avoided it. The sentence had been unanimous. Humanity was too dangerous, too unpredictable, too willing to break every rule of civilized warfare. When the humans had deployed kinetic weapons that cracked a moon in half during a territorial dispute, the Council had seen enough. "Impossible," High Chancellor Morveth declared, her wings fluttering nervously. "Nothing survives the dark sector. The gravitational anomalies alone would tear apart any vessel. The radiation storms, the rogue black holes." "And yet," Zixthar interrupted, projecting a hologram into the center of the chamber, "our deep space listening post detected this 3 cycles ago. The image showed a fleet. Not just any fleet, hundreds of vessels, each one bearing the distinctive blue and white insignia of the United Earth Coalition. But these weren't the ships the Council remembered. These were larger, stranger, with hulls that seemed to shimmer and bend light itself. They moved through space in perfect formation, ignoring gravitational wells that should have pulled them off course. By the ancestors," breathed Ambassador Kavalish, his tentacles coiling in distress. "What did they become out there?" The answer came sooner than anyone expected. Within a cycle, the human fleet had crossed the border into Council space, bypassing every defensive perimeter as if they weren't there. When the Council's finest warships moved to intercept, the humans simply vanished, then reappeared behind them, then beside them, then above them. No shots were fired. No threats were made. The humans simply transmitted a message: "We would like to talk." The Council had no choice but to agree. Admiral Rebecca Chen materialized in the Council chamber. Literally materialized, her atoms reconstructing themselves from a beam of light. She looked older than when humanity had left, with silver threading through her dark hair, but her eyes held something new, wisdom forged in darkness. "Greetings, honored representatives," she said, her voice calm but carrying an edge that made every ambassador present uncomfortable. "We've returned from our exile." "How?" Morveth demanded. "The dark sector should have killed you all." Chen smiled, and it wasn't entirely pleasant. "It tried. For the first decade, we lost ships daily. Entire colonies disappeared into spatial anomalies. Our children were born under radiation levels that should have been lethal. We buried millions." She paused, letting that sink in. "But humanity has a peculiar trait, Chancellor. We adapt, we learn. We refuse to die quietly. While you've spent 2 centuries in your comfortable sectors, arguing about trade routes and cultural exchanges, we've been fighting physics itself. We've learned to navigate spaces that don't follow standard dimensional rules. We've harnessed energies that exist outside your comprehension of the electromagnetic spectrum. We've evolved." Zixthar's translator struggled with the next word Chen used. It came out as something approximating quantum-entangled consciousness merged intelligence. But even that didn't capture it fully. "We didn't just survive the dark sector," Chen continued. "We mastered it. Every impossible thing about that region of space, we turned it into a tool, a weapon, a home." She gestured, and suddenly the chamber's walls became transparent, revealing the human fleet in orbit around the Council's homeworld. Except now there were thousands of ships, not hundreds. They had been there all along, hidden in folded space. "We could have announced our return differently," Chen said softly. "We could have come in weapons hot, demanding revenge for our exile. Many wanted to, but 200 years in the dark teaches you things. It teaches you that survival isn't about being the strongest or the most aggressive. It's about being the most adaptable, the most resilient. What do you want?" Kavalish asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "The same thing we wanted before," Chen replied. "A seat at the table. Recognition as equals. But this time, we're not asking as the young upstarts who broke your rules. We're asking as the species that survived what you thought was impossible. We've earned our place." She looked around the chamber, meeting the gaze of each ambassador. "The dark sector changed us. It made us harder, yes, but it also made us wiser. We've seen what's out there in the truly dark parts of space. Things that make your worst nightmares look like children's stories. Things that are heading this way, slowly but inevitably. You banished us to teach us a lesson. Instead, you trained us for the war that's coming. Morveth's feathers paled. What war? The one you don't know about yet? The one we discovered in the depths. The one we've been preparing for. Chen's expression hardened. You sent us to die in the dark. We learned to see by its light, and now, whether you like it or not, you're going to need us. She extended her hand in the ancient human gesture of partnership. So let's try this again. Humanity requests admission to the Galactic Council, not as probationary members, not as second-class citizens, as partners. Because when the darkness comes, and it will come, you'll want the species that learned to thrive in it standing beside you. The silence in the chamber was absolute. One by one, the ambassadors looked at each other, then at the fleet surrounding their world, then at the human standing before them with the confidence of someone who had stared into the abyss and made it blink first. High Chancellor Morveth was the first to extend her wing in acceptance. Welcome back, she said quietly. Welcome home. And outside, in the cold of space, the human fleet held position, patient, powerful, and ready for whatever came next. The dark sector had tried to break humanity. Instead, it had forged them into something the galaxy had never seen before. Something that could not be ignored, could not be dismissed, and could never be banished again. The throne of the galaxy hadn't just trembled. It had been forced to make room for a new power. One born in darkness and returned in light.